Household Squad back with another video. As y'all can see, a little different video today. Hopefully this gets out to y'all. I'm hoping for it. The video that was posted before this, it sadly, it was complications with that video. That video was actually done, I want to say 3 days ago, and I've been waiting, and I'm just going to finally release it. I have been getting, censored, so it kind of sucks, but it's okay. Definitely, if there's other videos y'all want to check out, make sure y'all contact me on Instagram, LifeWithRecklezz, or email me, lifewithrecklezz@yahoo.com. But y'all know, I got directed to this channel. Link will be in the description box down below. So make sure y'all, go check this channel out. But you already know, let's get in the video.
Well, the United States is the largest trafficker of children in the world. Children that are illegally kidnapped, brought across the U.S.-Mexico border, are then sold off to mostly wealthy Americans, used as sex slaves, and worse, if you can imagine, worse than that. It's happening, and the corporate media, of course, is largely ignoring the story for whatever reason. They refuse to touch the story, and when they do, they briefly touch it, and then it disappears. You can't find links on their website. It vanishes very mysteriously when they cover these stories. Many of these kids, these children, are kept in hidden concentration camps in the United States. Yes, I said it. Hidden concentration camps in the United States. We showed you one of these facilities a few months ago here on Redacted, a Walmart facility, a former Walmart facility in Brownsville, Texas, that is holding hundreds, if not thousands, of children before they are sold off. A whistleblower who worked at one of these facilities, MVM is the name of the facility, has come forward to expose all of this. Carlos Arellano is a former U.S. immigration contractor, and he joins us now. Carlos, welcome to the show, and thank you for coming forward to share your story.
No, thank you for having me. It's like you said, when it comes to child trafficking, there's so much evil behind it that people don't want to touch the story, and if they do touch it, they touch it briefly. And it just goes to show you how much evil there is behind it, that it holds that much power over people, that it's kept in the dark.
And hopefully we can expose this story, we can shine a light on it today, so anyone watching this, hopefully you can share this story out, share it with people who can spread it around to try to put an end to this awful, awful crime against humanity that's happening in the United States and around the world. So, Carlos, before we dive into some more specifics of this, can you just give us, our audience, a background as to what exactly you did working as an immigration contractor and this company? Is it a government company relationship as a U.S. government contractor, or was it separate from the U.S. government?
So the way it works is the U.S. government is washing their hands, keeping their hands clean by going out and handing out massive contracts to organizations that they like to call NGOs, non-government organizations. And these NGOs, they will get contracts for food services, for laundry services, for educational services for the illegal immigrants. Everything under the sun that you can think of, everything that we have to pay for, they will hand out $100 million contracts to give these services for free to the illegal immigrants. And the company that I work for specifically, their job is they hold the largest contract to move children around the United States of America. So my job was to move children from point A to point B. And my job was to pick children up at the border and then move them to their sponsors. I've been to every state that you could name. I've been there. I've been to North Dakota, Vermont, Florida, dropping kids off, all of them. And New York City and Florida, the most popular ones. New York State and Florida. And the other job that I did, I've done this immigration work my whole life, but two main jobs that stick out the most is I was part of the management team. I helped ran the largest migrant hotel in New York City, the Row NYC, where I had to look over 5,000 migrants in the heart of Times Square, a block away. And my job was to whatever these migrants wanted in New York City, whether it be spicy food, non-spicy food, or laundry services. We got laundry services for them. We had Uber services for them. If a migrant in New York City came to me and said, I want to go here in New York City, I want to go here in Brooklyn, but we're in Manhattan, my job was to get an Uber for them and things of that nature.
How did they have so much power? I mean, a migrant in New York City, was this a person responsible for the trafficking, or were these are people that had come across the border and you were providing sort of, luxuries for them? Can you explain that?
Well, the way it works is it's separate NGOs. So the one I escorted children for and the one I worked for in New York City are two separate companies. But the thing that people miss here is, for example, people think it's Governor Abbott who's sending all these people on buses to New York City. And it's not just Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott can account for like 15-20% of the people. Because if you look at the numbers that the state of Texas provides, they've bussed over about 30,000 people maybe to New York City, but New York City has about 80,000 people currently in their system. So the rest of these 50,000 people are going to NGOs like Catholic Charities at the southern border. And I think Ann talked about Catholic Charities, Ann and Michael. So Catholic Charities, bus tickets, airplane.
And I know I'm not saying a lot, because I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm gathering information as much as possible. I'm a type of person, I think before I speak. So
tickets, all on the federal taxpayer money, to get these illegal immigrants from the border to New York City. So a lot of these illegal immigrants are finding their way through federal taxpayer money from the NGOs to get around the country. But the thing is, they want you to believe that it's Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott is busing people, but it's nowhere near the same numbers that these federal taxpayer-funded NGOs are moving people across the country.
And so the federal taxpayer-funded NGOs are bringing these migrants. We'll get back to the children part of this in a second. But for instance, in New York City, bringing these migrants to New York City to live in this, I guess, a hotel. By the way, New York City, Times Square, I used to work at Fox News, 1 block away from where you're talking about. Right there in Times Square. Right there, next to, like a block away from major news organizations, The Today Show, all of the major media, ABC News, all of them a block away from where this is happening, and total radio silence on this. So when they're at these hotels in New York City, what are they doing? Are they children? Right. Are they adults? And then what happens to them?
So my hotel was a family hotel. So I had families spread across 28 floors. So from floor 1 all the way up to 28th floor, it's full of illegal immigrants of family units. But the thing is, they don't do anything all day. You talk to these people, they're not in a rush to leave. They're not in a rush to get out. So that's what my concern was me being familiar with the way these government contracts work. I would tell these people, hey, I'm looking out for you. If you have a family member who can help you out and wants to take you in, my advice to you is take them up on it, because one day this hotel will close down and they're just going to toss you out to the street and you're not going to have anywhere to go. So please.
This is insane.
I'm saying this in a good way. I'm not in a bad way. I'm looking out for you. You got to go. But the thing is, these people would not take me seriously, because Mayor Adams had no rush to push people out. Now that it's gotten out of hand, now he's handing out 60-day notices where he's telling people you have 60 days to find a way to get other kind of housing. If not, you're going to be out in the streets. So now that he's enforcing the 60-day notice, now that's why you're seeing these people out in the streets in tents, and they're spilling out over to the streets on the videos where they're sleeping on the side of the road. It's because they didn't run this the right way from the beginning. And for example, the hotel that I worked at, why would you put people all the way up to the 28th floor? Because these migrants are not going to be happy when the time comes to leave, and you're going to have to get the National Guard in there, and you're going to turn into a shoving match. And can you imagine them shoving each other, pushing each other, punching each other on the 28th floor? Someone's going to fall out. And it's like, why would you even do that? Why would you fill this hotel up the whole way? And it's terrible. It's terrible what's happening in New York City, and I don't see it getting any better. It's just going to keep getting worse. I see it ending up like the Paris riots out in France. That's where it's headed.
So let's get back to the children in the
Wow.
facility we featured here, this former Walmart facility.
It's only been how long? It's only been 10 minutes. That was a lot of information. I didn't even know a lot of this was going on. That's the crazy part about it. I didn't know any of this was going on. That's crazy.
Brownsville, Texas. You work there, correct?
So my job was, I did work there, but my job was to take kids out of those facilities and hand them off to sponsors across the country.
So can you walk me through that process? So you're an employee, you get what do you get, an email? Do you get a text message that says, Carlos, on Tuesday, we need you to take these children to their sponsor family in Florida? And how did that process unfold? Can you explain that?
So yes, we would get text messages, we would get phone calls at 7 p.m. at night, 6 p.m. at night, saying, hey, we have a trip out tomorrow. Can you make the trip? I say yes. And later on in the night, I get a report time for the following morning. You get a 5 a.m. report time, 4 a.m. It's always in the dark because they don't want us picking up these kids in the day where people can see us.
Wow.
And I would get for example, hey, 4 a.m. And I would not find out where I was going until the following day when I would show up to the charter bus.
That's wild.
We would get phones given to us, backpacks given to us, and until we got to the shelter, to the Walmart shelters that you broke on your show, we get files saying, hey, you're going to head off to Orlando, Florida, you're going to head off to Los Angeles, you're going to head off to Nashville, Tennessee, and you're dropping off 6 kids, and in those files you get a hard copy of an ID of the sponsor who's waiting for you at the airport in baggage claim. So the handoff is always in baggage claim at these airports. So the hard copy.
So the handoff is at baggage claim at the airports, and it's always at night. That's wild.
Of the ID is the person you want to wait for, and they're supposed to hand you this physical ID to you in person, and you're not supposed to release the kid until you take a picture of the physical ID with the paper copy ID together on a government phone.
And these children, these are illegal immigrant children that are being kept there. Are the parents anywhere around at all?
No parents. No, these are unaccompanied minors. So all the kids you see in the Walmart shelters, no parents are here. No aunts and uncles are with them.
I didn't even know it was anything about no Walmart shelter. Like, all this is new to me. I'm sorry. Like, I as much as I want to, do this reaction, this is more of like getting information. I didn't know anything about this. Like, I didn't know. This is crazy. It's dang near mind blowing. Like, it's stuff that, like, in my mind, like, people would send emails, talk about it, comment about it if it could get through. But I have to actually see it, see somebody talking about it, see somebody who actually, was involved in this.
They showed up to the border by themselves. So, and it's
with
crazy
coyotes,
because
with coyotes bringing them across. They're right.
Yeah, correct. Because sometimes I would run into kids who tell me, a coyote told me exactly how to get to your shelter, is what they would tell me. They told me how many steps to walk north of here, where to turn, and they told me to, if I run into any border patrol agent, to say that I'm a minor, that I'm underage, that I'm gonna run into a building, a shelter, a Walmart type of shelter that's gonna have food for me, that's going to have laundry services for me. And it would get so suspicious because the kids were being told by the coyotes exactly the way an NGO runs a Walmart shelter. And it gets you thinking, how the hell do coyotes know the system on this side, you know? Because they're supposedly only on the Mexico side and they're not from the US, these coyotes, and they're not government employees. So how do they know what to expect in the shelter? It's insane. And the other insane part is these Walmart shelters also have babies. I've escorted myself. I can personally myself say I picked up a baby that's 5 months old, 8 months
5 months
old,
old.
4 months old, and escorted them to a sponsor.
5
And
months
how
old.
the hell do you realize who a sponsor is for this child when they can't even talk?
So who are? That's awful.
Wow.
The whole thing is awful. But who are these sponsors then? I know some reports are that these are mostly, at least in Florida, from reports I've heard, wealthy Americans who are paying for these children. But first of all, who are these sponsors? Do you when you interact with them, are they? Is there a representative for the sponsors that you're meeting face to face, or is it the sponsor his or herself who is meeting you face to face?
The sponsor is supposed to be meeting me face to face, because their ID is the one that I can only accept. So they're supposed to be at the airport, but a lot of the times it does not happen. And these sponsors are supposedly family members. They can be an aunt or an uncle. They're supposedly a stepmother. They're supposedly a stepfather. They're supposedly a sister or a brother or a cousin. Sometimes they're even family friends. But it's like, how do you prove that this is a family friend? Or how do you prove this is a cousin when you don't even do DNA testing anymore at the border when it comes to the current administration?
Yeah.
And how are you? So these people are just calling up and saying, hey, yeah, that's my cousin, and that's it. I'm willing to take him in.
And you as an employee, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you thought you were reuniting families up until you didn't. Like, what was the moment you decided, wait a second, I need to blow the whistle on this. This is not what I thought it
exactly.
was.
Yeah.
So
That was a question I was gonna ask too. Like, I just find it like, I don't know, like the stuff that he's saying, like, and that I know there's obviously others out there, you know, and I'm glad that he came on, you know, his show. I didn't even catch his name, but to even talk about this, you know, because this is something that's serious. This is something that's serious, and something that's obviously new to me, and hopefully to reach others that's new to this too as well, because it's definitely an important thing, and it's a sad thing. Just hearing, you know, we have a newborn, hearing a 5 month old, 5 months, it's crazy.
So yes, you get into this type of work because you think you can make a difference. You know, you think it's these kids who are, and they have been through a lot, but you want to help them out and make them smile by buying them a snack at the airport, a toy at the airport, because children are innocent. You know.
Exactly, and that's what I was gonna say too. And I'm glad that he reached that point, is because regardless of how it's said and done, if it's, you know, anybody with the government, anybody with, you know, he's over here and this guy, he got this going on and this person got this. At the end of the day, if it's kids involved, kids don't know anything. Kids literally do as they're told, you know, especially when people take advantage of kids. And that's it. That's all. Like, kids are kids. They don't know nothing. Like he said, they're innocent. They're literally innocent. You have a lot of kids that obviously know what they're doing. They, you know, smart. They smelling themselves, as my grandmother would say. But at the same time, kids are kids, especially little bitty kids. You got kids. He said the youngest kid. We talking about 5 months old. That it's just, I know I keep on saying it, but it just blew my mind. It's sad.
A snack at the airport, a toy at the airport, because children are innocent. You know, no matter what, children, they don't know what they're doing, and they should be kept out of issues that are tearing our country apart. So you try to make their day better. But then I started hearing horror stories from my coworkers. My coworkers used to tell me my child that I escorted was crying because they said that they did not know the sponsor that I was taking them to.
Wow.
And they were telling me, please, sir, I don't want to go to the sponsor. I don't know them. They at the campsite where I was, at the Walmart shelter where I was, they told me that I supposedly know the sponsor, that the sponsor is supposedly my uncle or my aunt, but I've never met him. I don't remember. And my coworker would say, but I don't care. I still handed the child off, even though the child was crying, because I wanted to
Wow.
go out and party. And the reason why my coworker says that is because
That's
once
something he
we
ain't got to
had the
worry about.
child off,
First off.
we're allowed to go have our own thing. You know, if we're in Los Angeles and we hand the children off at the airport, we're allowed to go out into the city.
Exactly, because that's something that you don't have to worry about. Once you get that child off, and it's sad and evil enough, but once you get that child off, I mean, you go on about your life. Just thinking about that. That coworker, hey, okay, I don't care. I'm giving them. I'm about to go, have fun. Forgot about that kid. Forgot about this is some sad stuff.
Because our flight doesn't
It's
happen
sad.
until the next day, our return flight. So the rest of the night we're free. And a lot of my coworkers were 18, 19 years old, 21 years old, taking care of teenagers. And their main worry was, oh, man, I want to go to the bar already. I want to go to a concert that's happening in downtown LA, but the sponsor is taking forever, or this child is crying, and I just want to hand them off. So they would hand the children off, even though they were showing signs of, I don't know the sponsor. And then I used to think my coworkers were lying or they were exaggerating, because I would tell myself my coworker just wants attention, so they're acting like. And as sick as it is, people like attention that way. And I would brush it off, saying there's no way that's true. But then one day I received an email from my boss admitting in a company email that we handed off children to the wrong people. And
Wow.
all the stories that I would hear from coworkers immediately it just hit me hard in my face. And I had a big panic attack and I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I also would get stories from kids where a child wouldn't want to talk. And when I would get to the sponsor would tell me he's not talking because his sibling was with him and she got raped in Mexico and she got murdered in Mexico as well.
Wow.
So these children go through crazy situations like that. And then they tell me these stories. And then you get an email from your own boss telling you, we fucked up. We gave children to the wrong people. And the reason why it's so sickening is because in my office alone, there was about 300 of us, 200 to 300 of us. I would say at the most 400 employees. And each one of us can sometimes have 6 kids, 8 kids at a time. And the word around the company was that the boss had found records of us handing off kids to the wrong people for an entire month.
Wow.
So each day there's escorts going out. So that's
And I know that makes him feel bad. You can tell on his face just like how bad he feels. And I deeply apologize if y'all can hear that outside. They literally do this every time I come and do my videos. Literally every time. And it frustrates me. It frustrates me. It's like you have somebody that cuts the grass in the same spot. Anyways, you can tell on his face, how emotional and how, sad and crazy this whole situation is.
that's thousands of kids for an entire month that were handed off to the wrong people. And could you just imagine a company that's working for the government admits in an email to we gave kids to the wrong people? You just lose your entire faith in the company and the system, and it's like, what am I doing here? I can't be part of this anymore. So that's why I decided to speak out, because the company themselves admitted we're trafficking kids.
Wow.
And it's all happening right in front of our eyes, and the United States government is funding it. So these facilities, they're making their money from the United States government. And so if you drive up to this, like one of these Walmart facilities, you'll be met with guards at the gate, right? I mean, guards that are telling you, you know, you're not allowed to come in here. And how many kids are we talking about are at these facilities like this, you know, these former Walmart facilities? Are we talking hundreds, thousands?
Well, the Walmart that was shared on your show, I think you guys shared it,
Yeah.
or you guys talked about it, that's about 1,500 to 2,000 kids. But that's not the only Walmart down here where I live. We have about four or five of them,
And these are
and each
former Walmarts, right? So these are giant
yes,
facilities, former
Wow.
Walmarts that are housing these children. Are they like sleeping in cots and beds?
Right. That's what I'm
And they're
saying.
just
Like
there
Walmart.
waiting to be. Is it right for me to say sold off to these people around the country? I mean, that's the best way to describe it, right?
it's the best way to describe it. You're right to
Wow.
say that because what just the way the company admitted in an email to, hey, transportation specialist, you're taking the wrong documents and you're giving kids off to the wrong people. It's
And please say I know I can't really tell y'all what to do, but please, if y'all could say a small prayer for Carlos, because this is something, you know, that is definitely serious, and he came and spoke out about this. A lot of people, literally, a lot of people wouldn't do what he's doing. So definitely a prayer out to Carlos, to where he, you know, God is on his side, and you know, watching over him, and keeping him safe, because it is definitely something that's serious, you know.
it's 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 an open world of possibilities of what's happening, you know. And God bless Michael and Ann, because Michael and another gentleman by Ryan Matter from Live Free America TV and muckracker.com. These are just some independent journalists who've come down here and have been exposing this whole thing. And when they came down here, they were met with aggressiveness. They were met with, we're going to call the police. You can't be here. You can't take pictures. And they have signs like it says media tour. You can request a media tour. But when Michael and Ryan and Ann would request a media tour,
They
they were
decline it.
met with, "Oh, you have to go on the website. It's not available right now. Go on the website." It's
Yeah.
just, if you have nothing to hide, why are you being so aggressive? You know, you could. It's so easy to let a reporter in there, walk around, and then leave. You know, and if it's a good operation, why not do that? You know, and you're met with so much opposition, so much aggressiveness at the front gate that you can't even go into the parking lot for these facilities, these former Walmart facilities.
Is there any follow up with the children later, like to follow up and see are these children still alive? Have these children remained with these quote unquote sponsors, these people who've purchased them? Is there any sort of follow up mechanism in place? Did you have occurrence where you went back and would meet with the families again, or meet with any of these sponsors who bought these children?
No follow up. No follow up by the escorting agency. None whatsoever. I do know that case managers try to make one phone call, but I do know that this phone call, if they don't answer, if it's disconnected, that's it. They don't put any effort towards it. They don't leave a voicemail, nothing at all. It's just one follow up phone call a month later. But this phone call is not even enforced. It's left up to the case managers, to their own discretion, whether they want to make it or not. If
Wow.
they want to make it, they can go ahead and do it. If they don't do it, they're not punished for it. And that's it. The kids are not given a phone number saying, "Hey, call this phone number if you're being harassed or abused." No. What's
Wow.
happening is the kids are calling the national trafficking hotlines or the abuse hotlines, and they're leaving messages saying, "The government dropped me off here and I'm being abused, or I'm being pimped out, or I'm being made work." And they're calling the national hotline. So that's why there's reports out there of kids working in slaughterhouses, kids being pimped out. And it's terrible what's happening, but it's slowly starting to get out, but it's being suppressed by the mainstream media.
It's unbelievable how it's being suppressed by them. You would think this would
Facts.
be the most important
Facts.
story in America, but it's not. And it is, but it's being totally hidden by the mainstream media. Do you know how much are they paying per child?
That's what I'm telling y'all. I feel like I have so many questions, but I obviously can't talk to them. But it just sucks, to hear that this is going on and it being hushed. That's crazy. I wish somebody can go in there in these Walmart facilities, secretly, with a little spyglass or something, like, to just see what's like really going on, because it's so much stuff that's closed behind doors. Like, it's
These sponsors.
Oh, I Anne would have a better answer when it comes to this, but what I do know is that I can tell you. So I would have two kinds of trips. Sometimes I would fly economy. I would fly on United Airlines. I would fly on American Airlines. And these kids were being handed off to sponsors at the airport. But then I would have a second kind of trip where it would be charter airplanes at private airports. And when you get to these private airports, you have kids there who are talking to each other, and before they get on a private airplane, in front of me they're saying things like, telling the other kids there, hey, what's your favorite shelter? And the kid will start saying, my favorite shelter was the shelter in Seattle because the shelter in Seattle gave us iPads. Or they start saying, my favorite shelter is in Chicago because in Chicago they had a Nintendo Switch for us. And I start thinking to myself, wait a minute. You're at the border and you ended up in the shelter in Chicago. You ended up in the shelter in Seattle. And somehow you're back at the border again in Texas at a private airport in El Paso. And now you're going back to the East Coast. What is going on here? You're just being shipped around the country from shelter to shelter.
facts.
And then you're ending up back at the border and then you're going back out. What is going on? Like, this is strange.
Trading out. That's like, this is
And
all
then,
crazy to me.
the reason why I'm bringing these trips up is because I have this one terrible story where a kid came up to me once and he said, they like to call you teacher. So they said in Spanish, teacher, can you help me out? And I said, of course, what's going on? And he tells me, I arrived at the border about a year and a half ago, and my sister was with me. But the last time I saw my sister was at a shelter in Chicago, Illinois. And my mom has not heard from my sister either. And she's going crazy because she hasn't heard from her in months. And there's been no phone call, and I don't know where she is at either. Can you help me? And this system is so, excuse my language, but it's fucked up.
Because you can't give him the answer that you want to give him. That's
to the
sad.
point where I don't know what it is that I can tell this child
Yeah.
or how can I help him. All I can do is get him on the airplane, and you're going to another place on the other side of the country where they're supposed to continue your case. But when we get to these places where they're supposed to continue their cases, it's at 3 a.m, at 2 a.m, in the suburbs. And in these suburbs, it's when you knock on the door, it looks like a family home. You got family pictures on the inside. There's a lady who's just looks like she's cooking dinner, and there's kids running by. There's toys scattered across the floor, and there's 2 cars parked out on the garage. And it's like, how is this a shelter facility when it looks like a family home, And I had no way to fight it. It's just, this is the address, and I would drop off 3 kids from Central America, 2 female girls from the Middle East, and they would all stay at this home. And these trips were always in the middle of the night, and we would land in an airport in Orlando or in Jacksonville, Florida, drop off kids in Jacksonville, continue on in a charter bus or in a rental car, drop off kids in North Carolina, drop off kids in South Carolina, drop off kids in Georgia, come back to the private airport in Orlando, Florida, and then fly back to Texas. So I don't know how that sounds to you, but it's really shady.
Shady is one nice way of putting it.
It is, and it makes it even more sad. Just the simple fact of, and excuse me if y'all can hear that outside, but it just makes it, sad that the simple fact of, doing this overnight, doing it at night. Obviously, can't do it in the daytime because it's so many different children. It's so many, and it just sucks. Like as much as I want to say, you can't on certain things. I'm hoping this video gets out, and I'm hoping that people actually see this video, see what's going on, because it's definitely a sad situation.
I'll get you out of here on this, Carlos, because you've been so great.
Carlos has been great, and I definitely want to say, please make sure y'all get our prayers out to to Carlos, because you can tell on his face, you can tell his whole demeanor, his posture that he's sad, and he's very emotional about what went on and the dark things that went on in that matter, because it's definitely sad. It's definitely sad, and I know he's in a position that he feels bad, but God got him. God is on his side, and I'm glad that we have somebody in that to come out and talk about something like this, because it's definitely needed. Stuff that's hushed up, so it's definitely prayers to him.
Gracious with your time. The Texas government, Governor Greg Abbott's office, etc., have you spoken to them? Have you come forward to them about what's happening? And if so, have they done anything about it? Are they planning to do anything about it, or are they sweeping it under the rug?
They're sweeping it under the rug. I've heard from nobody, and they're sweeping it under the rug because these facilities, legally, they're running by the law because they have state permits that they need to get. So the state of Texas know that these facilities exist. They don't exactly know like the name of these kids. They don't exactly know the information, but they know they're there. But these facilities can't run without state permits. So I don't know if it's Governor Greg Abbott or someone in his administration, but they're aware, and they're not doing anything about it. And I've heard from 0 people from DC. No one from DC, no one from Texas. There are people who've promised, hey, we'll help you out to get you places to tell your story, but then they always fall through the cracks, and there's people currently working out there, good people trying to get me to tell my story more, but at this moment, no government, nothing, 0 from the Texas government.
Wow.
And it's sad, because you would think that they care, and honestly, they don't care because they haven't done anything about this.
Thousands of children being kept in the...
That is definitely sad, y'all. I'm gonna end the video here. Make sure y'all stay tuned for for tomorrow. Probably I got another video sent. Like I said, the video will be in the description box below. But this is definitely a sad manner. Hopefully this gets out. This is definitely sad. I didn't know a lot of this was going on, especially with the Walmart thing. I didn't know anything about that. I actually got it mentioned that Chris had, and I know a lot of y'all probably don't know Chris. Y'all, those that do, it's my girl. She had seen that Sound of Freedom was online. So go check that out, see what that's about. And it's crazy how she mentioned, the Sound of Freedom today, and reacting to this, and it's just sad, that this stuff is really going on. This stuff is really going on, and it's sad. It's going on here, is what's crazy, and I can't believe it. I can't wrap my head around it. Hearing it from somebody else, I hear it from comments of all this, that But actually hearing it, somebody that actually went through it is sad, it's sad, and I'm glad that Carlos did that. Definitely prayers up. Definitely make sure y'all hit my Instagram, LifeWithRecklezz, for more videos for me to check out, or email me liferecklezz@yahoo.com. Definitely appreciate everybody watching these reactions. Try to get them up as much as I can. Run into some issues. Gonna have a video to talk about that, but definitely prayers up. Prayers up to Carlos. Prayers up to the kids. And the whole situation around it. Definitely appreciate everybody. Much love to everybody. God bless everybody. Catch y'all next one.